From a severe weather outbreak being possible across portions of the central Great Plains tomorrow, to Typhoon Fransisco currently forming in the western Pacific Ocean, potential bring some significant impacts to Japan in the middle and late portions of next week. This is your Chiquita weather forecast for June 19th, 2026. First of all, looking at the current day 2 SPC severe weather outlook for tomorrow, we have an enhanced risk of severe weather across parts of eastern Colorado, back into southern Nebraska and northern and central Kansas. And we have a slight risk of severe weather from southeastern Wyoming back into northwestern Missouri all the way into portions of the Oklahoma Panhandle. For our tornado risk tomorrow, we have a large 5% tornado risk across portions of western to southeastern Nebraska and portions of northern and central and eastern Kansas, as well as a sliver of northeastern Colorado, and we have a Sig 1 area across northern and central Kansas, back into central Nebraska into western Nebraska, also back into northeastern Colorado, where we can see a couple of strong tornadoes tomorrow, and our 2% tornado risk extends from eastern Wyoming back into northwestern Missouri and the northern Texas Panhandle. For our damaging wind risk tomorrow, you can see we have a 30% damaging wind risk across southern Nebraska back into northern and central Kansas, where you can see some widespread damaging wind gusts, and we have a 15% damaging wind risk across western into southeastern Nebraska into northwestern Missouri, all the way back into much of Kansas, portions of the Oklahoma Panhandle, back into much of eastern Colorado, and we have a Sig 1 area across the Texas Panhandle there, all the way back into southwestern Iowa, eastern Colorado, and much of the southern half of Nebraska there, where we could see some hurricane-force damaging wind gusts up to 85 miles an hour. And for hail risk tomorrow, we do have a 30% hail risk across western Kansas, southwestern Nebraska, back into eastern Colorado, where we could see some widespread large hail with our initial supercells tomorrow. And we do have a Sig 1 area across southeastern Wyoming, back into western central Nebraska, western Kansas, the western Oklahoma Panhandle, all the way back into eastern Colorado, where you can see some hail up to the size of baseballs tomorrow afternoon and evening. And we have a 15% hail risk across the northern Oklahoma Panhandle there, back into central and western Nebraska, into eastern Colorado, western and northern Kansas, all the way back into southeastern Wyoming for tomorrow. Next, look at our current day 3 SPC severe weather outlook. This is going to be for Sunday. We already have a slight risk of severe weather from western Nebraska and eastern Colorado, all the way back into northern Oklahoma and northern Arkansas, southern Kansas, and central and southern Missouri, all the way back into southern Illinois, where we can see some scattered severe thunderstorms. Looking at our probabilistic outlook, we have a 15% and 5% risk areas, and no SIG areas have been added yet. Going down to the discussion, you can see we're talking about large hail, severe winds, and tornadoes being possible. You can see the main threats will be damaging wind gusts and large hail. There could be some tornadoes. They may add some greater severe probabilities in future outlooks. And it just looks like mainly some large hail and severe wind gusts. There could also be some supercells, as you see there, with our decent shear. So we could also see a low tornado threat on Sunday as well. And I will have more updates and future weather forecasts on my channel. Now looking at the current day 2 excessive rainfall outlook from the Weather Prediction Center, you can see this is for tomorrow. We have a moderate risk of flash flooding across southeastern Nebraska and northeastern Kansas, where we will likely see some significant flash flooding tomorrow. We could see some widespread flash flooding in that area, and we could see some scattered significant flash flooding in those areas as well. And we'll talk about more of the rainfall totals in a minute once we get into the discussion, but make sure you have multiple ways to receive flash flood warnings if you're a moderate risk or the slight risk areas for tomorrow, which we do have a slight risk of flash flooding across central and eastern Nebraska, western Iowa, back into western and central Missouri, northern and eastern Kansas back into portions of northeastern Oklahoma, and we have another slight risk of flash flooding across eastern Texas, southern Arkansas, northern and central Louisiana, southern and central Mississippi, back to southern Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. In those areas, we could see some scattered flash flooding tomorrow, and maybe some isolated significant flash flooding. Going down to our discussion for tomorrow, you can see we are talking about some totals, up to 4 to 6 inches in localized areas, although the general range will be around 2 to 3 inches, and we're talking about some scattered, potentially widespread flash flooding, which has prompted the upgrade to a level 3 out of 4 moderate risk of excessive rainfall. We're talking about a dry line, a significant low-level jet, and this will result in an MCS, which will likely bring some flash flooding to portions of Nebraska and Kansas tomorrow. Now look at the day 3 excessive rainfall outlook. This is going to be for a Sunday severe weather event. You can see we have a large slight risk of excessive rainfall across much of the Mississippi River Valley, the Midwest area, including portions of eastern Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, western central Tennessee, western and central Kentucky, eastern Kansas, much of Missouri, southern Iowa, much of Illinois, southern Michigan, much of Indiana, western and central Ohio, and those areas could see some significant flash flooding, but mainly we're going to see some widespread scattered flash flooding, and maybe some isolated significant flash flooding, and we could even see an upgrade to a moderate risk of excessive rainfall, with this large of a slight risk outlook, so make sure you pay attention to future updates, and make sure you have multiple ways to receive flash flood warnings on Sunday if you're in those areas. Now, I do have an update on Tropical Depression 07W. Now it is Tropical Storm 7W, which it has not been named yet, but will likely soon be named Tropical Storm Fransisco. Right now it's located well to the west of Guam and well to the east of the Philippines. There it has sustained winds of 35 knots in the northern sector, and it has no tropical storm winds in the southern sector. As you can see over the next couple of days, it is expected to gradually strengthen, quickly strengthen, into a low-end typhoon there by 0Z on June 21st, which will be in the evening of the 21st there. It will already be at 70 knots, which is about 80 miles an hour, and it was expected to event and rapidly intensify potentially into a mid-range Category 4 hurricane there, a typhoon a Category 4 equivalent typhoon there, with sustained winds of 120 knots, which is 140 miles an hour, and we could even see it reach super typhoon status, potentially Category 5 status, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But after that, it's expected to gradually weaken and turn north there, eventually impacting those islands there to the south of Japan. It could also impact Taiwan with some heavy rainfall, but I would watch the city of Kingdena, which that was just impacted a few weeks ago by Typhoon Jamie, and you guys could see some Typhoon Force winds and sustained winds again with this system. So make sure if you're on those islands, including Taiwan, whatever that island is, it's like Ishigajima, and then you have the island with the city of Kingdena, and then you have Amami Oshima. If you're in those islands, you need to be watching out for this storm, and if you're in the northern Philippines there, you need to be watching out for this storm as well, for mainly just some heavy rainfall. Now looking at one of our weather models, this is our Google AI weather model, which can be accurate, but I wouldn't trust it completely, but this can give you a general idea of the track and potential intensity. You can see right now it has it as a low pressure system, but obviously it will likely become a typhoon later this week. You can see in just like about 1 day from now, it already has it becoming a low-end typhoon. And then you can see it has it starting to rapidly intensify, and eventually it becomes a Category 4 equivalent typhoon there to the east of Luzon in the Philippines there. And you can see if we move it forward even more, you can see another tropical storm potentially behind it, but then it'll gradually weaken and move up towards Japan there with some typhoon force to tropical storm force winds there, and it could even make landfall in Japan there, bringing some tropical storm force winds, but that would ultimately lead to a weakening. But you can see it would likely have a pretty large wind field there, so it could even bring some heavy rainfall to parts of Taiwan and the northeastern Philippines there, in northern Philippines, including Luzon there, and it could also bring some strong wind gusts and some flash flooding to Japan as well, so make sure you guys watch out for this system. We can actually look at the intensities here. You can see even some of the models have it becoming a Category 5 equivalent typhoon, like 75% of them have it becoming a Category 4 equivalent typhoon, and a lot of them also have it becoming a Category 3 equivalent typhoon, but again, I will keep you guys updated in case the forecast changes for the system. And finally, look at the satellite imagery for what will soon be Tropical Storm Fransisco. You can see it's starting to get well organized. It has some nice thunderstorms to itself. It can already see there's some thunderstorms wrapping around the center there, and it's looking pretty good on satellite already. It has some inflow coming into the system, and you can see some outflow out of the system to the north, I believe. If we look at the satellite loop here, let's play the loop. You can see there's been some nice outflow to the north. You have some nice inflow coming in from the southwest. There are some scattered thunderstorms to its southwest as well, and it has some nice convection forming on its center there, and I believe you can maybe able to see a little bit of lightning around the center there. I'm not too sure if that's just cloud tops or if it's really lightning, but that is interesting to see how it is already organizing quite well, and it looks like it's starting to somewhat rapidly intensify as of now. Anyways, that's the end of today's weather forecast. If you're in the impacted areas for the severe weather or flash flooding tomorrow or Sunday, make sure you have multiple ways to receive severe thunderstorm warnings, flash flood warnings, and most importantly, tornado warnings as well, and maybe even some other weather alerts in case you guys are in impacted areas for other weather stuff like wildfires or even just some strong winds in general. And also, if you are in portions of southern and central Japan, make sure you keep paying attention to what will soon be Tropical Storm and future Typhoon Fransisco, as it could bring some tropical storm force winds with some very strong wind gusts to your area, along with some significant flash flooding. And I will see you on the next weather forecast tomorrow. Goodbye.